The land down under has its gigantic and terrifying insects and animals, but it also isn't too far behind when it comes to fierce athletes. Recently, Australia's boxing wonder George Kambosos Jr. went viral, but it wasn't for his performance inside the ring as you'd have guessed. It's for some very different reasons that we'll discuss in the video. So sit back, relax, and let us give you some news from the sunburnt country. First up, Kambosos has some guts. It's no secret that promoter Lou DiBella, among others, implored George Kambosos Jr. to take a victory lap in his first title defense. Not only that, but it would be a victory lap on home soil, with the Australian crowd able to rejoice in their hero, who could have cruised to victory over an easier opponent. You'd think that's what he did, but no. Kambosos Jr. flat out refused to do such a thing and didn't make it an option for DiBella to get anyone else other than Devin Haney for the fight when the first option, Vasiliy Lomachenko, fell through. DiBella told the reporters at the post-fight press conference that Kambosos said to him to go make a fight with Haney and do what he has to do to make a fight with Haney. If that isn't the spirit of a man who's afraid of nothing, then we don't know what is. DiBella also said that he wanted it for himself and thought it was right for the sport because the best need to fight the best, and that's how they elevate the sport. No doubt it was pretty ballsy of Kambosos to take on such a huge challenge even though he wasn't sure what'll happen and if he'll even win or not. But Kambosos Jr. is to be commended for doing something that a declining number of boxers at the top of their game seem to do. Many boxers play it safe, and while we don't exactly blame them for not taking any risks, we can't help but take a bow for Kambosos, who decided to take on the toughest fights possible and refuse to duck opponents. But against Haney, in front of over 41,000 fans at Marvel Stadium, the 28-year-old boxer maybe bit off more than he could chew. The American challenger put on a clinic for 12 rounds and became the undisputed champ in 32 years. Of course, we can't say that Kambosos didn't do his homework, but still couldn't keep up with the American hero. Even though it's well known that Haney's strongest weapon is his jab, Kambosos Jr. just couldn't implement his game plan to great effect to nullify it. Doesn't really matter because even if he lost, Kambosos has made a place in many fans' heart as they commended him for his brave decision. Despite the loss, Kambosos Jr. needed no reminding of the incredible risk he had taken by pushing for this fight and took pride in the fact he had played a starring role in reviving the Australian boxing scene. And we agree with that. Next, Kambosos speaks up. After losing his game, Kambosos spoke to the reporters and showed no regret or sorrow. He appeared happy and said that the only thing at the end of the day that matters is that he made this happen. He could have easily not chosen this to protect his records and could have fought an easy fight. He went on to say, "Look at me, I knocked someone down in 2 rounds." He took a risk and lost, but isn't that part of the risk? You take risks and you also reap the rewards. Sometimes it doesn't happen, and that's completely okay. Someone had to win the fight, and it was Haney this time. Kambosos said that he wishes Haney the best of luck. He also assured his fans that this adversity has given him a new sort of life, and he'll come back hungrier now. So let's watch out for the Australian star and see what he has up his sleeves. It's public knowledge that Kambosos Jr. has a rematch clause that would force Haney to come back to Australia and defend his title again. Kambosos Jr. wants that, duh, but Haney said he'll do it if it makes sense. But given how comprehensive the defeat was, does it make sense for both parties? Beyond that, is a rematch a fight that'll draw similar crowd figures or eyeballs watching on television? Who knows for now? It's all hypothetical, but given the comprehensive nature in which Haney won by, it's certainly something worth stewing on. And as fans, we'd love nothing more than to see the two back inside the ring as Haney defends his title and Kambosos Jr. tries to snatch it with all his might. Up next, the silver lining. The loss to Haney was also the first time that Kambosos Jr. didn't have his hand raised after the fight. Can't help but think that this one sting more than any other defeat he's tasted earlier in his career. With a mammoth build-up, plenty of press and emotionally charged events throughout Fight Week, Kambosos Jr. had built himself up on a pedestal, only for it to come crumbling down. The fight was highly anticipated, and everyone's eyes were glued to the television. But what makes Kambosos Jr. stand tall among his peers and rivals is his unwavering confidence that not even a wrecking ball the size of Mars could crack. He knew he'd take a gigantic risk. He knew what the cost of such a defeat would be, but he had the confidence when he was hunting the belts, and he had it when he was the hunted, having secured the belts. Even after the loss, Kambosos Jr.'s belief in himself remains rock solid, and it's only one quality that needs to be admired and respected. Kambosos said that his confidence will forever be sky high, and there's nothing that can ever take that away. That's the kind of person he is. He is a fighter, and this sport requires unyielding belief in the self. "My confidence will always be sky high," Kambosos Jr. said. "That's who I am as a person and who I am as a fighter. I think we all need to be confident in anything we do in life. It is what it is. That's the sport." And with his unshakable belief, he's proven time and time again that anything is possible. So we won't be naive to bet against him. Now that we've covered Kambosos Jr.'s defeat and his confidence, we'll head over to the related news section to bring you more boxing news. Now in other related news. Floyd Mayweather refuses to sign child's boxing glove. Legendary boxer Floyd Mayweather was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame at an event on Saturday night, but it wasn't all plain sailing. From the title, you must have guessed what happened. At the end of the event, Mayweather was taking photos and signing stuff for his fans when a child approached him and asked him to sign his boxing glove, but Mayweather said it didn't belong to him. The father of the child yelled from the crowd that the glove belonged to him, and Mayweather went away laughing. Next, Mike Tyson confesses to being a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. Mike Tyson is a boxing legend, but his terrific career wasn't devoid of difficulties and personal troubles. Recently, one of his most controversial episodes arose when he assaulted a passenger while traveling on a commercial airliner. When asked about it, Tyson confessed that even though he was morally right, he had no right to touch him and shouldn't have. In the same space, Tyson made another harsh confession about his life outside the ring and said that he's a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. Tyson's problems are not new, and it's something he wants to solve, but one of his greatest enemies is his own aggressiveness and close-mindedness. He said that he knows a lot of great people who aren't good people, and he wants to be one of the good ones. It looks to us that Tyson's looking to reinvent himself after numerous controversy. Good luck to Mr. Tyson for trying to right his ways. Lastly, Julius Francis knocks out an unruly person. Mike Tyson has his issues going on, but it turns out that people who went up against him inside the ring aren't exactly making a huge name for themselves inside of it, but are surely headlining news outside. Julius Francis recently knocked out cold an unruly person on Monday while working as a security officer at Box Park, Wembley in London, England. This didn't happen without reason though. Before the punch, the rowdy person was seen shouting obscenities left and right, was shoving, screaming, and aggressively attacking people in the crowd. The security continued to push the person away, but to no use. Moments after the man punched a security staff in the face, he was punched down by Francis. The man had intentionally walked up to a boxer? Was natural selection calling him his biggest mistake? Because Francis knew how to defend himself, and he didn't hesitate to nail the person with a straight right hand that dropped him flat on his tracks. Can't say the man didn't have that coming for him. That's a wrap for this video. If you have any questions related to Kambosos Jr.'s match with Haney or other boxing news that we've given you today, let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one. Bye.